They changed
And
it.
who do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democrats?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC.
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It
Crowds
won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader.
Bernie, AOC, Mandani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
Bill Maher is going straight after Uck, and his words are very harsh. Maher has never really liked the New York lawmaker ever since she first showed up on the political scene, but her newest public comments along with her style of woke politics have pushed him even further away. During several fiery moments on his show, Real Time with Bill Maher, the outspoken comedian has taken strong shots at Uck. His words feel sharp, heated, and very hard to ignore. So before we get into all this drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now let's dive right into the chaos and see what's going on.
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. Guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club.
Besides her strong connection to woke politics, critics now say Uck seems more and more out of touch with everyday life. The New York congresswoman once proudly used the word woke to describe herself, almost like it was a medal she could wear with pride. She used the word at rallies and protests across her state, acting as if using the label showed she had strong moral beliefs. But times have changed, and the meaning of woke has shifted. Today, many critics use the word to describe thinking they believe is far away from normal everyday concerns. Seeing this change, Uck appears to be slowly adjusting her image, lowering how much she uses the term and creating space between herself and the same ideas she once highlighted. Bill Maher, however, is not letting that happen quietly. On Real Time with Bill Maher, he points this out directly, questioning what he sees as mixed signals and political acting in her style. His comments feel bold, intense, and almost impossible to look away from.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
This is exactly why many viewers feel drawn to Maher. He doesn't smooth his words or hide them behind soft language. Instead, he speaks openly about things others may feel nervous to say. If Uck is now stepping away from the woke label, it raises a bigger question. What name should be used for the ideas connected to that way of thinking? For many years, several beliefs have been pushed into the spotlight that many people still struggle to accept. These include the idea that gender identity alone can redefine sex, that young minors can make major life-changing decisions without their parents being involved, and that biological males should compete in women's sports and enter women's spaces. Critics often point to these ideas as key parts of what they call woke culture. So if Uck chooses to stop using the label, that is her choice, but the ideas themselves still remain. Maher's message is simple. You can change the name or branding as much as you want, but the main issues are still there, and people will continue to question them.
Their message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard. Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid.
I clearly remember when the word Latinx was strongly promoted by liberal leaders supported by figures like Gavin Newsom and Uck. It was presented as modern and inclusive, even though many people in the Latino community showed confusion and strong disagreement from the start. Surveys and street interviews repeatedly showed that most of the people the word was meant to represent did not connect with it. Even with that feedback, the push continued, making it seem like activists were speaking over the same communities they said they wanted to help. Then the backlash began to grow. As the criticism became harder to ignore, Gavin Newsom slowly stepped back, using the term less and quietly moving away from it. Oak, on the other hand, continued to support it, saying that language always changes over time. But for many voters, that answer felt dismissive and disconnected from reality. Moments like this did more than start arguments. They slowly weakened trust and eventually showed their effects during elections.
More of them now than ever are identifying as Republican. So are Asian Americans, whose support for Democrats is down 16 points since the last election. A lot of that is because, in the name of achieving equity in schools, Democrats in deep blue cities have made it a mission to eliminate the advanced programs at which Asian kids excel. Asian parents said, "Hey, I wish all kids well, not a racist, but I need someone who acts like my lawyer."
At this point, Maher argues that leaders like Ock may be helping push some Asian and Latino voters toward the Republican Party. In his opinion, this shift did not happen suddenly. Instead, it comes from growing frustration. Many voters in these communities feel they are being talked down to, tired of what they see as empty promises and symbolic gestures that do not lead to real changes in daily life. Instead of listening to buzzwords or cultural signals, these voters care more about real-life needs, like better schools for their children, a steady and improving economy, safer neighborhoods, and leaders who deliver practical results. Maher's main point is that when politicians appear more focused on big ideas and movements than on daily struggles, they risk losing the very people they claim to stand for. And once trust begins to break, voters do not just complain. They start looking for leaders who feel more grounded and truly connected to their lives.
How do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democrats?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC.
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader.
You know?
But this is the thing the Republican Party has to understand, too. Both parties lost in the last election. Trump won, okay? And I don't know if that's going to transfer.
5. I'm not completely certain what message Speaker Kevin McCarthy is trying to send here. Still, one thing seems clear. If leaders like Ock and Bernie Sanders end up guiding the direction of the Democratic National Committee, it could cause serious problems during election season. Yes, they attract large crowds and create strong excitement. Their rallies are energetic, loud, and filled with supporters who show deep passion. But recent elections have proven something important. Big crowds do not always turn into real votes. Excitement at rallies does not always carry forward to election day. We have seen this happen before. In 2024, major endorsements, celebrity visits, and packed events made it seem like support was overwhelming. But when voters finally cast their ballots, the results told a different story. The lesson is simple: winning requires more than excitement. It needs wide support, clear messaging, and policies that reach beyond a loyal group of followers. Without those things, excitement alone cannot guarantee victory.
Who's at the top of that ticket, Kevin? Because if it's not Bernie, he's going to be vice president and then wait his turn?
No, it would be. Bernie's been running each time. I'm just saying who's in the lead right now. I don't think that's how it ends up.
But big crowds don't necessarily mean who's the right candidate. You know, when I started...
No, but it drives where the ideas are going to go. It's going to drive the money for a while.
It doesn't make him the winner.
No, it doesn't make him the winner. You'll have to wait till you'll get 2 years out, and then you'll start seeing these governors that start showing solutions. You also have to know, what is the issue going to be? Are we going to have a foreign policy issue? Are we going to have an economic issue? And who's been the best in leading in that? But right now, for the Democrats, who's going to lead for the next 2 years, the money is going to... AOC outraised everybody in the House.
And it's all small donors.
It's all small donors.
This kind of criticism is often directed at Democrats. It is not really about who raises the most money. In truth, it never was. Take Kamala Harris as an example. During the last election season, she collected a huge amount of campaign funding in only a few months after becoming the Democratic nominee. The numbers looked impressive, filling headlines, and giving the feeling that success was unstoppable. But when voters finally went to the polls, that money advantage did not lead to a win. What happened next became one of the more noticeable election defeats in recent years. The lesson here is very clear. Money can help spread a message, but it cannot fix a weak one. Voters are not convinced by large budgets or shiny campaign ads alone. They want honesty, clear ideas, and policies that match their everyday lives. Without that connection, even the most well-funded campaign can fail when it matters most.
Bernie, AOC, Mandani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food stamps, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, COVID-era payments, farm subsidies, disability payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, corporate bailouts, and the jobs program that is building weapons the Pentagon doesn't even want.
Maher's point here connects with many voters. There is often a habit of treating democratic socialists as the same as regular Democrats, which leads people to group leaders like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zohran Mamdani together as if they are identical. But that is not fully accurate. While they work within the Democratic Party, their beliefs lean more toward democratic socialism, which supports a stronger role for government in shaping both the economy and social programs. That difference matters, especially for voters who feel unsure about policies they believe move too far to the left. Critics argue that these differences become clear in the types of proposals and goals they support, sometimes placing them out of step with many voters. That is where Maher's warning comes in. If someone like Ock were ever leading the national ticket, many believe it could create distance between the party and moderate voters, possibly leading to losses at the polls.
The DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social policy. Their platform, for example, calls for completely open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more. You think you're going to win an election on that? It just seems like more extremism at a time when Americans are begging both parties, please, could just one of you act normal?
This moment, Maher really increases the pressure. In his view, he does not see a clear road to victory for Awak. If she continues supporting ideas critics label as woke politics and democratic socialist policies, he believes those ideas might excite a deeply loyal base of supporters, but they could also push away moderate voters who usually decide national elections. To him, this feels like a struggle between real-world politics and strict ideological beliefs. Policies connected to places like New York, such as expanded public benefits that critics claim could include free early education for undocumented immigrants, are often mentioned as examples that create concern. Then there are ideas like expanded free public transportation tied to figures like Zohran Mamdani during local races, which Maher believes add more challenges. His argument stays simple. Whether fair or not, these policies shape public opinion, and public opinion often decides what happens on election day.
It's either defund the police or military in the streets. Either MAGA's crypto crony capitalism or city-run grocery stores. No, I don't want that. I want a Democrat who reassures me if you like your Whole Foods, you can keep your Whole Foods.
In the end, Maher's larger message cuts through all the noise and arguments. Elections are not won by ideology alone. They are won through public perception, trust, and strong connection with everyday people. Leaders like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can energize a loud and passionate group of supporters, but that energy does not always spread across the wider public. Many voters are becoming cautious about speeches and messages that feel disconnected from their daily struggles. Instead, they are focusing on stability, opportunity, and realistic solutions rather than bold political experiments. The final lesson is simple but often ignored. Energy, money, and media attention mean very little without broad public support. If the Democratic Party forgets this balance, it risks making the same mistakes again. As Maher warns, ignoring these warning signs in politics does not just lead to bad headlines, it can lead to lost elections. And with that, we reach the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this content, remember to hit like and subscribe for more updates like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.